Workforce and Development. In order to ensure that public health is capable of providing the needs of the people, we need to make sure we're developing individuals into being helpful in the workforce. Great example of this was prior to COVID, the workforce for public health and the workload for public health was one thing. And then after COVID happened, or during COVID, I remember being in a cohort where they were like, this is the largest cohort we've had for this school. And it was because people saw that a need was coming. People saw that due to this new thing, that there was a need for more practitioners, more need for the nutritionists in MPH, more need for them to be in the epidemiology side to research what's going on, to prevent it from happening again, how to develop new ways of taking care of the individuals. And in order to be able to have a good workforce, we have to develop them. So the quality of the programs that we're going through. And once we're actually in the job, how well we're developing those individuals to carry the weight that's needed so that we can attain the goals of taking care of mass population. It's important to realize that development isn't just always going to be formal. There's articles to read, there's conferences to go to, there's networking lunches, there's lunch and learns. There's all kinds of ways that we as individuals, practitioners, researchers can continue to develop once we are in the workforce. It doesn't stop once we graduate. It doesn't stop once we hit that position that we want. We should be continuously learning, trying to keep up with the change and the needs of the people where we are. It's also important in this development that we teach cultural sensitivity so that we don't try to just be equal across board, but provide that equity we talked about in a previous subpage. When we go to an area where people have good coverage, great jobs, things of that nature, walkability, they're not needing the same things when we go into areas where they don't have walkability, poor access to food, poor access to pharmacies, poor access to care. And that's where we have to go in and figure out, okay, when I worked at this public health, here's how we did it. But the needs of these individuals can be different. Great way to get development is to do needs assessments, because I could know by the numbers what I think I need. And I was in a class with Dr. Dahl where we had to do these interviews, and we had reproductive health. So we did sex education and we researched all the different things that people did, what they needed. And then we actually had to do interviews with individuals. And in talking to someone who was in that space, actively working with these students, it changed how I viewed what was needed. You know you need to teach sex education, but unless you were in that, did you realize the importance of the trust that you have to gain from the parents and from the children? Because what they're seeing in the news is not what you're trying to give them. What you're seeing people fighting and shouting and being loud about is not what you're trying to develop. And you have parents who were taught wrong or experienced wrong or don't know, and they give an answer to a child, and now you're going to stand in front of them and be like, I know you just met me, but everything everybody taught you is wrong. And you don't say those words, but by saying this is how a baby is determined to be a boy or a girl. Growing up, I remember my dad blamed my mom because he never had a boy, only to be in class and learn he's wrong. It was him who determined if it was a boy or a girl. And so that teacher never said, your dad is wrong. That teacher said, here's the truth. Anything else you heard is incorrect. So by default, I'm supposed to just think like, oh, my parents don't know what they're talking about, which we're already thinking that as high school kids anyway, right? And so finding a way to work with the community outside of the health education, to be present in school events, to make yourself available to talk to parents and to have compassion because they're not attacking you. They're attacking a system that they don't understand. That was something I had to learn so when I get in the workforce, through the development, through an exercise that was given by a professor in school. And so being able to see what it is your community needs. And when you take another job in another county, in another state, in another country, to not come in thinking you know, but to gain development through connecting with the community and finding out not what the numbers say in CDC, not what the research says from somebody who wrote a paper in the local area, but sitting in the community, getting to know the people and finding the root cause. And that's where workforce and development can be used to make us great practitioners, researchers, and educators for our community.